mates. What adventure awaits?
Do you sense it? Something is coming. A strange vessel headed for the cove.
Welcome to Candle Cove.
Welcome back, crewmates. For today's voyage, we're gonna cruise deep into the cove and paint the treacherous, villainous pirate, Horace Horrible, from the classic creepypasta, Candle Cove. This one-eyed, tall-toothed, mustached villain was brought to life by puppeteer Karen Vallow and was used for the first season of Sci-Fi's TV show, Channel Zero, Candle Cove. Her excellent interpretation of the character is what we will paint today. Candle Cove was a huge part of this channel, and honestly, my personal life back in the day. I've done a lot of Candle Cove related projects over the years. These projects ranged from drawings, videos, and even creating my own puppets based off the original story. So journeying back into the world of Candle Cove for this painting was a really nice return to the channel's roots. Now, with all that out of the way, there is only one thing left for us to do now.
We should go inside.
Alrighty, to start off, like any other painting project, I had to make a general outline of Horace first. So off camera, I looked at my reference image and then I drew it on a separate piece of paper. I then taped that piece of paper to the back of the canvas, and that let me flip it up and down to get all the lines and the details in their respective places. Now onto the painting, specifically the sweater. This started off pretty simple. I just had to slather a bright orange all over the canvas, and then I added more darker oranges for the stripes. Leaving the details of the sweater for later, I started to work on Horace's glove and hook. His glove was relatively simple. Paint the entire thing black and then sprinkle in some highlights along his fingers and the palm. It was actually a mix of black, white, and subtle hints of blue and orange. This helped reflect the light of the sky and the vibrant orange of his nearby sweater. As for the hook, I painted the base layer, and then I gradually added more and more shadows and highlights on top. I layered these shadows multiple times to get as smooth of a blend as I possibly could, and I also used a method of tapping the canvas with the brush to evenly distribute the paint. This also helped make the colors go from dark to light. With the hook and glove out of the way, it was time to set my course to continue on the sweater. It was during this part of the painting that I had the most trouble. I did this painting over a long period of time. Work, school, and my personal life took priority a lot, so I'd often take breaks in between the painting to go do those things. When I would return to the project, I would start working on the sweater's individual stripes again, only to realize that the colors now did not match what I'd already painted. I would essentially remix the paint to get the same colors that were already on the canvas. I'd pretty much repaint the areas that were already done just to get the colors to match what was already there. Coupled with mixing darker colors for the wrinkles and the folds, the contrast and colors eventually got more darker and more extreme, thus making Horace's sweater a dark orange and red pattern rather than the muted orange patterns from the original clip. This took up a lot of time just to get right, and I honestly think I could have done a bit better on it. But the last thing I had to do was add some sewing and stitching details where needed, and I also enhanced the shadows and the highlights around the creases and the folds. After the fiasco of getting the sweater in perfect shape, I then set sail to paint Horace's teeth. These things are nasty looking, yellow, crooked, and rotten, perfectly embodying the sinister nature of this puppet. A base layer of lightened yellow was applied to the teeth, then afterwards I outlined each tooth with a combination of blacks and greens. For the individual teeth, I combined greens and browns to make smooth gradients for the shadows. As for the decayed, rotten physique of the teeth, I drew inspiration from the texture of splintered wood. To finalize his teeth, I painted some lines and cracks to better emphasize the finer details, just like in the original puppet. Horace's head and monocle were pretty simple to get finished. Like with everything else, I did a base layer of tan for the head and then added some shadows around the outline where the mustache would be. The stitching around Horace's eye was pretty easy too. With some dark brown lines, I gave the impression that his head was shoddily sewn together in places. Places like the top of his head and where Horace's eye would be were perfect places to emphasize this. Sprinkle in a few tan stains and some accents, and the head was done. Horace's monocle would be even more simple to make. The metal frame would be a darkened and desaturated gold. The eyeball would be a lightened up baby blue as well as a brown and black pupil. I also added a subtle shadow over the top right section of the monocle. This intensified a detail from the original image that made Horace's eye look more furrowed and kind of angry, really bringing out that villainous look. Last, but certainly not least, was Horace's handlebar mustache. I was actually pretty apprehensive to do this part at first, since I don't really paint or draw hair too often. So getting those really small strands of hair was admittedly a bit intimidating. But in the end, it actually wasn't too difficult, and I managed to finish it in a pretty timely manner. So once the bulk of the black was painted, I just put small amounts of black on the tip of my brush and painted each strand individually. After taking my time diffusing some of the black with some blues and adding more curls of hair, I finally managed to finish Horace's mustache. Of course, off camera, I did some extra touch-ups here and there. But all in all, after about a year and a half of working on and off of this project, I could finally mount Horace Horrible on my wall, alongside my other paintings. So thank you again for tuning in for another painting video, and I really hope to see all of you again very soon. Have a nice day, and stay creative.
Golly! I've never seen a storm wallop the laughingstock quite like this.
Maybe we should abandon ship